The drama begins in the school of a famous city in China. A girl named Nancy happens to be pregnant and works as a cleaning lady. Just then, a student named Nora and her friends show up and start bullying her in the school bathroom. She sarcastically remarks that Nancy doesn't even know who the father is, since she doesn't even know which man she was intimate with. Another student joins the mockery, reminding Nancy that a VIP guest is visiting today and that the principal wants the campus spotless, so she better clean the school with her mouth. Nora then smugly tells her friend to beat her in the bathroom. At that exact moment, the male lead, Sam, enters the scene. The principal greets him eagerly, praising him for donating multiple buildings to the school and mentioning that he's now practically a celebrity at Jingwei University. Sam, ever the stoic type, replies that he wants his name and photo removed from everywhere as he has no desire to flaunt his generosity. The principal, trying to save face, quickly agrees. Meanwhile, Nancy was barely holding up in the bathroom. Holding her belly in pain, she whispers softly to her unborn child, apologizing for not being able to protect them. She admits she doesn't know who the father is, but pleads that if he exists somewhere, he should come and save her and their baby. Outside, Sam hears her faint voice and feels an uncanny familiarity. When he asks the principal if anyone is inside the restroom, the man lies instantly, claiming the place has been shut for a long time. Just then, a pearl from Nancy's bracelet rolls out from under the door because she broke it, so that someone can hear her. Sam picks it up and, sensing something is wrong, rushes inside only to find Nancy collapsed on the floor. And he sees her, he remembers everything, and the scene shifts back to the 6 months before, which reveals Nancy's school days, when she was bullied mercilessly. Nora, the principal's daughter, sneers that since it's Nancy's birthday, they've prepared a special gift for her, one she must accept. Another student shows Nancy a signboard that reads, "I can spend one night with you," and orders her to accept it. Nora then announces a twisted game. Nancy must walk out the school gate and show the sign to the first man she encounters, after which the gift will be complete. Terrified, Nancy refuses, showing that she wants to go home. Nora's friend threatens her, saying that since Nora's father is the principal, he could have her expelled in no time if she disobeys. Meanwhile, Sam's friend tells him that his grandmother had a special bead bracelet made for him, claiming it would help him find love and even produce babies. Sam scoffs, saying he's allergic to women and that doctors have confirmed it, so he doesn't need that ridiculous thing. His friend chuckles and tells him to wear it anyway to keep his godmother happy. Soon after, Nancy accidentally bumps into Sam. His friend snaps at her for not watching where she's going, but then freezes when he realizes Sam didn't have any allergic reaction to her touch. Somewhere in the background, Nora's friend gossips gleefully that Sam supposedly detests women and is a germaphobe, warning that if Nancy misbehaves with him, he'll make her life miserable. Terrified but forced by her bullies, Nancy timidly holds up the sign in front of Sam. His friend bursts out angrily, saying he never thought the school could produce such a shameless woman and that Sam isn't the kind of man just any girl can approach. Nancy tries to explain through gestures, since she can't speak, that she didn't mean it that way. Sam looks at her curiously and asks if she's mute, then wonders aloud if she's really that poor. He instructs his friend to give her some money. His friend glares and says he must be out of his mind. Sam ignores him and tells Nancy that if she ever needs money again, she can approach his friend. The friend sighs dramatically, muttering that his house isn't a charitable shelter. Nancy, moved by the unexpected kindness, thinks to herself that maybe good people still exist in this cruel world. Nancy was happy, but suddenly Nora and her friends started beating her again. Injured, she returns home to find her aunt gambling with friends. She politely asks for some money to visit the doctor, but her aunt barks at her to get out. One of the women whispers something into the aunt's ear, and her expression changes instantly. She hands Nancy some money and instructs her to accompany the woman to the doctor. During the journey, the woman casually asks if Nancy is turning 20 this year, and then, with unsettling cheer, suggests that she marry her son and give her a healthy grandson, promising they'll treat her well. Nancy hesitates and says she wants to go to the hospital instead. The woman smirks darkly, saying her aunt has already sold her for 100,000 yuan. Shocked, Nancy made a strong gesture that she won't marry her crazy son. The woman loses her temper and screams that she never told anyone Nancy was mute, so how dare she insult her son. Nancy, panicked, bites the woman's arm and flees. Furious, the woman sends a few goons after her, Running desperately, Nancy stops Sam's car and pleads for help. Seeing her terrified, Sam tells her to get in. His friend protests immediately, saying Sam has officially lost his sanity for letting such a shameless woman into his car. If she's getting in, he's getting out. Sam, ever calm, tells him to go ahead. The friend huffs, but before leaving, he hands Sam a pill, saying it's an anti-allergy medicine from his grandmother that will protect him from Nancy. Moments later, the friend realizes in horror that he gave Sam the wrong pill, a narcotic drug. "Congratulations," he mutters to himself. "You've just turned your friend's life into a soap opera." Meanwhile, in the car, Sam offers Nancy some water, but she refuses politely. A while later, the drug kicks in. After some time, Sam is sweating in a bathtub, confused about why he suddenly feels so hot. Nancy walks in, and Sam begins approaching her uncontrollably. She warns him to ask his assistant to bring another woman if he's thinking of doing something reckless. Later, she meets the assistant, who informs her that it's too late as Sam has already taken the drug. Nancy says firmly that she doesn't sell her body. The assistant, clearly desperate, explains that Sam is allergic to every other woman except her, so only she can save him. Nancy asks with a gesture what happens if she refuses. The assistant replies grimly that Sam could die. Nancy hesitates, thinking that Sam is a good man, and between marrying her aunt's deranged son and saving this one, the choice isn't exactly hard math. So she goes to him, and they spend the night together. The next morning, Sam, back to his cold and rational self, accuses her of having a hidden motive. He claims she must have drugged him and says he won't investigate further. Nancy protests that she didn't drug him, that she was trying to save him, but Sam scoffs, saying he's certain she can speak and only pretends to be mute to gain his sympathy. He orders her to call his assistant and tell him how much money she wants. Then he walks away. Nancy quietly picks up the pearls that had fallen from his broken bracelet. Soon after, Sam's friend arrives, and Nancy hands him the pearls, asking him to return them to Sam. The friend smirks and says he knows she drugged him. Nancy insists she didn't mean that she was trying to save him. The friend laughs mockingly and asks if what she really wants is money. He tosses a stack of cash at her, saying that Sam had never touched a woman before and that she was the first. The extra money, he says with a smirk, is a tip, and she should never bother his friend again. In the next scene, Sam's friend steps out of the hotel room, only for the receptionist to inform him that money was found inside Sam's suite. Startled, he pauses to think, so the girl didn't take the money after all. Maybe he had misjudged her. She wasn't the kind of woman he had assumed her to be. A few days later, Nancy is attending class at school. As she stares down at a pregnancy test kit, her thoughts spiral. What should she do now? She knows she's pregnant, but she can't bring herself to consider an abortion. She wonders how she'll manage to study while raising a child. Suddenly, her aunt and uncle storm into the classroom, creating a full-blown spectacle. They demand that Nancy come home with them immediately. Nancy, refusing to back down, tells them she isn't going because she wants to continue her studies. Her uncle loses his temper and yells that they've already sold her. All she has to do is get married, and they'll receive 300,000 yuan in return. A student overhears and mocks her, joking that even if Nancy worked her whole life, she wouldn't be able to earn that much. Her aunt tries to sound persuasive, saying that the groom may be older, but he's wealthy. She'll never have to worry about food or rent again. Just then, the pregnancy test kit slips from Nancy's hand, and when her aunt and uncle see it, they freeze in shock. She's pregnant. Her aunt gasps that the man was offering 300,000 yuan because Nancy was supposedly untouched, but now that's ruined. Her uncle, furious, demands to know who the father is. Nancy quietly says she doesn't know. Her aunt explodes, calling her shameless and saying she doesn't even know which man she was intimate with. The other students begin laughing, whispering cruel jokes about her. Her uncle, red with anger and embarrassment, declares that he won't take her home anymore. This news spreads throughout the whole school like a fire. Now Nancy is standing in front of her old principal and begs her teacher not to expel her from school. The teacher, visibly troubled, says such a situation has never happened before. She tells Nancy to get an abortion first, then she'll appeal to the school on her behalf. But Nancy pleads that her parents are gone, and this child is her only blood relative. She cannot destroy that connection. She asks for a leave of absence, promising to return after the baby is born and continue her studies. The teacher, moved by her sincerity, finally agrees. The story shifts back to the present. Sam helps Nancy out of the bathroom, but the principal approaches, explaining that this student was expelled long ago as she became pregnant before marriage and doesn't even know who the baby's father is. Sam, unimpressed, ignores him and walks away, and he rushes Nancy to the hospital. His friend examines her and reports that she's in a critical condition, weak and badly injured in the abdomen. The baby might not survive. Sam, alarmed, asks why she never contacted him since he had given her his contact information. His friend looks uneasy and admits that he tore it up. Sam glares at him, demanding why. The friend confesses that he had assumed she was like other women after his money, but when he offered her cash, she refused it. Sam, realizing the truth, murmurs that she neither asked for money nor reached out to him. Then why did she give him the drug? His friend gulps and explains that the drug was his mistake, as he had meant to give Sam an anti-allergy pill but handed him a narcotic instead. Sam remembers Nancy insisting she hadn't drugged him. Realization dawns because she really had come to save him. Later, when Nancy regains consciousness, Sam gently asks if she's okay. She looks at him weakly and asks if he came to save her. Inwardly, Sam is struck by how strange it feels, as if she isn't speaking aloud, yet he can somehow hear her voice in his mind. Could she truly be mute and he's hearing her inner thoughts? Out loud, he tells her yes, he came to save her. Nancy looks at him earnestly and insists she never lied, she hadn't come to sell herself. His assistant had told her he had taken drugs and that only she could save him. She explains that she had been searching for him to ask for help, but he was nowhere to be found. Inwardly, Nancy wonders why she's explaining herself, as he can't even understand sign language. He's just the father of her child, nothing more. So why does she feel the need to tell him all this? Then she looks around the hospital room and writes in her phone that she can't afford it because it must be far too expensive. Sam's friend quickly intervenes, saying she doesn't need to return any money because she's carrying the heir of the Fu family. Sam then turns to his friend and says he needs a word. Outside, he asks him to find all the students who bullied Nancy and bring them before him. His friend nods and immediately agrees to do it. Afterward, Sam calls his mother and asks where she got the Buddhist bead bracelet she had given him. His mother replies cheerfully that she bought it from a monk reputed for his powerful charms. She had heard that anyone wearing his bracelets would gain both wealth and children. Meanwhile, Nancy's aunt and uncle show up at the hospital. Her uncle sneers, asking how she can afford to stay in such a high-end place if she had money. Why hadn't she told them before? Nancy gestures softly that she doesn't have any money. The baby's father arranged everything. Her aunt scoffs and says she's foolish to depend on such a man. She urges her to get an abortion and still marry the man they had chosen for her. Nancy, furious, tells them she won't go anywhere with them because they aren't her family, just people trying to sell her for money. Her uncle, enraged, strikes her and starts beating her. A nurse nearby witnesses the entire scene and immediately informs Sam. Moments later, Sam storms into the room and demands how her uncle dared to touch her. Shocked, the uncle retorts, asking if Sam is the baby's father and whether he knows that he's her uncle. Sam coldly replies that no true uncle would ever raise his hand against his niece. The uncle snaps that she's his niece and he can do whatever he pleases. He then smirks and says Sam can have her only if he pays 300,000 yuan. The aunt adds mockingly that if Sam were really wealthy, he would have already given Nancy a better life. She wouldn't have been cleaning school floors for a living. That sarcastic remark might have earned her a medal for shamelessness if one existed. Nancy, trembling with anger, gestures that her miserable condition is entirely because of them. Just then, Sam's bodyguards arrive, and the aunt and uncle go pale with fear. Trying to regain control, the aunt blurts that when Nancy was 10, her parents died, and they raised her. She demands 5 million yuan for their sacrifice. Nancy glares at her and gestures that they had already taken her father's insurance money, promising to fund her education, but instead they starve her and beat her so much that she lost her voice. Hearing this, her uncle sneers that perhaps Sam doesn't understand sign language, so he'll translate. She's saying that unless they get 5 million yuan, she won't give birth to the baby. That line almost earns him the Villain of the Year award. Sam, enraged, orders his assistant to throw them both out. After they leave, Sam tells Nancy she's endured too much and that he'll take her home with him. Nancy, her eyes filled with tears, insists in her text again that she truly hadn't drugged him, she only wanted to help. If he doesn't trust her, he can ask his assistant. Sam assures her that he does trust her and doesn't believe she's the kind of woman who would cling to a man for his money. At that moment, Sam's grandmother arrives. Seeing Nancy, she asks if this is the girl carrying his child. She smiles kindly and says she's heard from Sam's friend about Nancy's story, and that since she's now carrying the Fu family heir, she's part of their family too. From this day onward, she says, Nancy will never have to bow to anyone again. Sam's friend adds jokingly that his grandmother is over the moon about the baby. Nancy, deeply moved, thinks to herself that this is the first time anyone has ever been happy because of her. The grandmother then says she must thank the monk who gave her the blessed bracelet. Hearing that, Nancy suddenly remembers she left the bracelet in the school restroom. She's about to confess when Sam interrupts and lies that the bracelet was lost because of him. Nancy immediately corrects him and shows the text to the grandmother that it was her fault. The grandmother waves her hand gently and says it doesn't matter, as the bracelet did its job by bringing her to Sam. Before leaving, the grandmother tells Sam to take good care of Nancy from now on, and then turns to Nancy with a smile, saying that from today onward, her only duty is to be happy. Grandmother escorts Nancy into the house, where the household maids step forward to greet her with warm, choreographed hospitality. Nancy quietly registers each smiling face and thinks that once the baby is born, she will have to return to the life she once knew. Sam, watching her with a protective tenderness, promises that from this day forward, he will take meticulous care of her. Grandmother soon explains, in a tone that mixes matronly pride with boardroom authority, that several family properties have been transferred into Nancy's name and that a newly acquired mall now belongs to her as well. Because Nancy is pregnant, the assistant will manage the mall, and all profits will be deposited on a card she may use whenever she chooses. Grandmother then bestows jewelry and designer bags upon Nancy, an ostentatious kit of comfort, and admits she orchestrated all this in anticipation of Nancy's discharge. Overwhelmed, Nancy weeps, thinking she had long assumed her life would always be defined by neglect, never by care. Sam, moved, tells his grandmother that Nancy's tears are gratitude enough. Grandmother waves off the thanks, declaring Nancy to be the family's daughter-in-law and vowing to love her as she loves Sam. A maid produces a medicinal salve sent by Sam's friend for Nancy's wounds, and grandmother appoints Sam personally to oversee the application of that medicine. Nancy demurs, insisting she can tend to herself, but grandmother rebukes gently that self-application would be difficult. Sam will help. Sam admits with a sheepish, half-amused resignation that if he shirks this duty, grandmother will not let it pass, and so he agrees. Later, in a quiet room, Sam administers the medicine, and Nancy feels her heart hammer in her chest as if it might leap free. Embarrassed by the intensity, she scoots closer to him. He soothes her, reminding her of their new status as husband and wife, and the many shared tasks that await them. Nancy suggests the household maid could assist instead. Sam explains that grandmother wants Nancy to grow accustomed to life by his side, and he has granted the maid a day's leave so there will be no one else at home to help. As Sam applies the salve, Nancy is acutely aware of her pulse. Comical thought flickers through her mind that her heart is auditioning for a drum solo. Then she steadies herself when he murmurs that she should rest and he will return shortly. Soon Sam's friend arrives with news and informs him that the students who bullied Nancy have been located. Sam instructs him to bring each one before him. In the following scene, grandmother informs Nancy that Sam is hosting a party in a few days and that she has selected dresses for her to choose from. Nancy, unnerved, wonders if she deserves such finery, convinced the guests will only sneer. Grandmother insists that the party is less important than Nancy herself, as she is the lady of the house and must be present. The next day, Nora and her friends arrive at the venue, whispering admiration for the hotel's opulence and for the opportunity to be seen there. One friend confides that this hotel belongs to the Fu group and that Mr. Sam Fu rarely invites women. This time, however, he personally invited Nora, favoring her above others. The friends exchange conspiratorial plans about loyalty should Nora become Sam's future wife. Then Nancy appears. Nora and her clique are stunned to see her in the same venue. Nora taunts that Nancy was barely gone from school and has the temerity not to greet her former classmates. Her friend sneers that Nancy, attached to an elderly rich man and carrying his child, must be bracing for public humiliation. Another jibe declares that Nancy has climbed social ranks purely on money's back and will never walk with her head held high. The cruelty is clinical. Nora's friends boast that Mr. Fu personally invited Nora, implying she is a future CEO's spouse in the making. They warn Nancy that Sam is enormously wealthy and powerful and that anyone crossing Nora will face consequences. Fear flickers across Nancy's face. She insists she has done nothing. Enraged, Nora and her friends seize Nancy, and one of them vows in a venomous tantrum to terminate the unborn child in Nancy's womb. At that instant, Sam's friend intervenes, demanding to know why they are causing a scene and calling for security. Nora's contingent protests that they were invited by Sam and that Nora is the principal's daughter and Sam's prospective wife. Nora threatens to lodge a complaint. Sam's friend tells them to see how Sam will respond. Sam's friend checks on Nancy and she assures him she is fine and will manage. He replies with a courteous offer of support and asks her to message if anything goes wrong. The party commences and a guest remarks that Sam may be about to announce a very important person, perhaps his future wife. The gossip escalates into breathless praise that Nora is fortunate to have been noticed and invited. Then, the same chorus that greeted Nancy earlier rises. Who is that pregnant woman and what is she doing here? Nora declares her a mere mistress, a college student who got pregnant before marriage and will bear an old married man's child. The school's reputation now allegedly lies in tatters. Guests murmur moralistic outrage. How could someone so young be pregnant? How dare she attend this party? Sam appears, and the women crowd for his attention. Nora strides up toward him, only to be unceremoniously accosted by Sam's assistant, who forcefully ejects her from the stage and explains that Mr. Fu is allergic to women and that they are merely safeguarding his well-being, implying not every woman can approach him. Sam then asks his assistant about the carpet Nora allegedly ruined. The assistant answers that the carpet was bought at an American auction and was reported to be valued at $40,000. Nora protests she lacks such funds. The assistant produces a document and instructs her to sign away payment to Sam, payable at her convenience. When Nora demands why Sam invited her, at the same time, Nancy, dressed in a red gown, is nearby and hears a guest remark that Sam dislikes red. Nancy wonders inwardly whether he will be angered by her choice. In her nervousness, Nancy accidentally knocks over an expensive decorative vase. A bystander opines that it was worth $30 million and that Nancy's family could never repay such a sum even after a century of labor. Nora seizes the moment to demand compensation from Sam. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Sam approaches Nancy and declares that a broken vase is nothing to trouble him. The entire Fu group stands behind her. The assembled guests are speechless. Sam's men seize Nora, and he explains that he invited her to teach her a lesson because she slapped his wife and needed to be taught a measure of humiliation in return, though those hands that struck someone must now feel the consequence. Nora retorts, incredulous, that the woman cannot be his wife. She is mute, she insists, and therefore how could she be his spouse? Sam turns to Nancy and assures her that from this day onward, no one will dare trouble her again. His tone is calm but edged with authority, the kind of voice that could make even thunder reconsider its timing. Then, with a single order to his assistant, he commands that Nora's father be removed from his position as principal and that the entire family be banned from the city. He steps before the guests and, in front of all, declares Nancy to be his wife, instructing everyone to treat her with the same respect they show him. Anyone who disrespects her, he warns, will meet the same fate as Nora. Nancy stands frozen, her heart swelling with disbelief. In her thoughts, she marvels that this is the first time anyone has ever claimed her publicly, given her such dignity, such warmth. Nearby, Nora's friends whisper anxiously that Nora has dragged them into danger. If Sam learns that they too bullied Nancy, he will ruin them. One mutters that her father will be furious if he discovers she angered Sam's wife. Another laughs nervously, insisting Sam doesn't understand sign language. So how would he ever find out? Moments later, Nancy's classmates approach with feigned friendliness, claiming they share a wonderful bond with her. Nancy looks at them coldly and reminds them how they once threw mop water at her, smeared ink on her pants, and glued her hair and mouth shut, an impressive resume of cruelty masquerading as friendship. Sam, taken aback, listens in silence before speaking. With a deceptive calmness, he praises their so-called care and promises them a special gift. The students, mistaking sarcasm for sincerity, boast that their company works in advertising and that they'd love to collaborate with him. Sam agrees pleasantly, saying he will certainly meet their expectations. Then, turning to his assistant, he instructs him to investigate their company's financial records, and if any illegal activity is discovered, hand them over to the cops and have them expelled from school. The students are stunned, and Sam's men escort them out of the party with a politeness so sharp it could cut glass. Nancy watches it all unfold and realizes, with quiet awe, that this entire evening had been orchestrated for her to defend her, to give her justice. She wonders why Sam treats her so kindly, why she finds herself depending on him so easily. He approaches her again, telling her softly that she is his wife and can trust him completely. Noticing her footwear, he asks teasingly why she's wearing high heels while pregnant. Nancy replies that since the party was his event, she feared arriving too casually dressed and that these aren't really heels. Sam smiles faintly and tells her that no matter what she wears, it won't change who she is. He will always stand beside her. Later that night, his grandmother praises him for everything that happened at the party, saying she heard every word and that he acted wisely. She then leads Sam and Nancy to their room, proudly revealing that she has had it prepared for their first night together. She explains that since the world already knows Nancy is now the Fu family's daughter-in-law, it's time to make their marriage official. Sam chuckles, asking why she's in such a hurry, while Nancy, touched by their kindness, silently wonders if marrying him might actually be the right choice. She then gathers her courage and nods to the grandmother she is ready for marriage. Delighted, grandmother promises to select the most auspicious day for the registration. Later, Nancy sits in the room alone, her thoughts fluttering between nervousness and disbelief. She wonders if tonight she's truly meant to share a bed with Sam. The feeling is so strange, so unfamiliar, that she nearly laughs at herself. When Sam enters, she catches sight of him and is momentarily distracted. His physique is far more impressive than she remembered from that dim night. She blushes at her own thoughts, only to hear Sam's voice break the silence. He gently reminds her that she's pregnant and needs rest. He'll sleep on the sofa instead. He assures her he's not the kind of man who would risk his wife's health for his own desires. Once she recovers from childbirth, they can take their time with everything. Nancy feels her cheeks burn, half embarrassed and half relieved, secretly wondering if Sam somehow guessed what had been running through her mind. Later, a practical worry replaces her fluster as her family register is still with her aunt and uncle. Without it, marriage registration would be impossible. Checking her phone, she finds a flood of neighborhood gossip in the group chat, people accusing her of abandoning her poor relatives, marrying a rich man, and letting her uncle suffer in a hospital with no money. Disheartened but determined, Nancy calls her aunt. The woman wastes no time accusing her of being selfish, rich now, yet unwilling to share. Nancy, calm but firm, says she won't give them any money. Her aunt explodes, threatening to destroy Nancy's reputation. The next day, Nancy's aunt stages a loud scene outside the hospital. When Nancy arrives, her aunt points dramatically and declares to everyone that this is the girl who ran off with a rich man. Nancy retorts that they tried to sell her for money and now are spreading lies to play the victims. Her aunt, unashamed, says she'll sit there and make a spectacle until Nancy pays her. Sam arrives just then and asks if Nancy is okay. Seeing him, her aunt begins her performance anew, accusing him of mistreating them. Her uncle joins in, groaning that Sam beat him and refused to pay for his treatment. Nancy, finally losing patience, reminds them that they tried to force her into marriage with an old man and wanted her to abort her baby. The aunt yells that Nancy still dares to blame them, and the onlookers begin siding with her relatives because apparently public sympathy loves a good sob story. Suddenly, Sam begins interpreting Nancy's sign language, revealing that he has understood her all along. Nancy is stunned. She had always believed he couldn't comprehend her words. Sam tells her to continue, promising to be her voice. Nancy signs rapidly, and Sam translates for everyone. When she was 10, her uncle and aunt took her father's insurance money, promising to raise her. Later, they threw her out, stole her earnings to repay their debts, and even tried to send her to a massage parlor at 18. They treated her like a machine for making money, not a human being. Enraged, her uncle lunges to strike her, but Sam shoves him back. Then, with calculated calmness, Sam hands them a large sum of money. Their faces light up greedily, but before they can thank him, he remarks that payment doesn't come without consequence. He gestures, and the crowd that had gathered begins striking the uncle. The aunt screams for Nancy to stop them, begging that her husband might die if this continues. Nancy glares coldly, asking whether her uncle could not endure a few blows when she had endured years of suffering. Trembling, her aunt finally breaks down, apologizing and admitting it was all her fault. Nancy responds quietly that they had tormented her all her life and that she will never forgive them. Just then, Sam's assistant arrives and reports that he has found Nancy's family register. Sam opens it and notices the name of her father, shocked to realize it matches the man who had once donated a heart to save him. When Nancy hears this, she protests that her father died of heart failure. How could he have donated his heart? Later, Sam summons her aunt and uncle to his office, where his assistant presents an insurance document belonging to Nancy's father. Sam demands the truth. Her uncle nervously blames his wife, who explodes in fury and confesses everything. A flashback unfolds, as years ago, debt collectors came to their house demanding repayment. Drowning in debt, her uncle and aunts took Nancy's father's illness insurance papers to a doctor, offering him $500,000 to forge a certificate stating that Nancy's father had died of heart failure. The doctor, however, revealed that the Fu family's son, Sam, was dying from heart failure and needed a donor. Nancy's father, he said, was a perfect match, and they orchestrated the plan to take the money from both sides. Soon after, Nancy's father died mysteriously. Her aunt and uncle, determined to erase every witness, mixed ashes into Nancy's mother's water, poisoning her and ensuring that both parents were gone. It is in that moment, as the horror of the truth settles, that the scale of betrayal becomes clear. Nancy's own blood relatives had sold not just her childhood, but her parents' lives, just for money. After listening to this, Nancy, trembling with fury, confronts her aunt. She accuses her of rushing her mother's cremation without an autopsy, all to hide the truth. Her voice trembles, but her eyes burn with rage. In a fit of emotion, Nancy grabs a knife and moves toward her aunt and uncle, ready to avenge her parents. Before she can strike, Sam catches her wrist firmly and tells her that half her life has already been consumed by suffering. He refuses to let the rest be stained with blood. He assures her that the cops are on their way and justice will now handle the monsters who called themselves her family. Hearing that, the aunt and uncle immediately start apologizing, but Nancy refuses to listen. A few sorries cannot erase a lifetime of cruelty. Nancy is resting at home because she became sick after hearing all the truth. Sam's friend tells him that both mother and baby are healthy, though his wife has been under immense stress and now needs happiness more than medicine. As Nancy slowly wakes, Sam informs her that her aunt and uncle have been arrested. He then hands her a folder, documents belonging to the house her father once owned. He explains that her uncle had stolen the property and sold it for money, but Sam bought it back and transferred it to her name. Nancy, overwhelmed, thanks him silently, realizing that some debts of kindness can never truly be repaid. The following day, they pose together for their marriage certificate. Nancy gazes at the photo and thinks, almost disbelieving, that Sam, someone she never dared to dream of, has now become her husband. She once thought she would spend her entire life trapped under her aunt and uncle's cruelty, but meeting Sam changed everything. That encounter, she muses, is the greatest happiness her life has ever given her. Later at home, she turns to Sam to thank him for everything. He smiles faintly and tells her that gratitude alone won't suffice. She tilts her head curiously and asks what he expects. He replies teasingly that it depends on what she's willing to offer him. She blushes and says she'll cook for him. He chuckles and replies that he doesn't want food. Nancy insists she's a good cook and will make him a delicious meal, but he shakes his head and says that since she's now the president's wife, she must live comfortably, no more kitchen duties. Her patience finally snaps. She asks what exactly he wants from her. He leans closer, eyes playful, and says he wants a kiss. Nancy's cheeks turn crimson, but she musters courage and plants a shy kiss on his cheek. Sam laughs softly and says she clearly learned nothing from their last night together, as her technique still needs work. Nancy, flustered, inches closer, touching his chest. He raises an eyebrow and asks what she's doing. She replies innocently that she thought he might like her touch. When he doesn't react, she pouts and asks if he didn't enjoy it. Sam smirks and says that men and women are quite different. She asks what exactly makes them different, aside from women getting pregnant. Sam answers with a grin that everything is different. He then kisses her gently and slips a ring onto her finger mid-kiss. Startled, she asks when he bought it, and he confesses that the idea of that ring came the very first time he saw her. Meanwhile, grandmother visits a monk to buy sacred items for Nancy and the baby's safety. She reminds the monk that the last time he gave her a bead bracelet, her grandson ended up with a daughter-in-law. Half-jokingly, she asks when her great-grandchild will finally arrive. At that very moment, she receives a call. Her maid informs her that Nancy has gone into labor. Outside the delivery room, grandmother waits with Sam's friend, who assures her that the best doctors are attending to Nancy and everything will be fine. Moments later, a nurse emerges with good news that both mother and child are safe. Everyone rushes to meet Nancy. Sam approaches her gently and asks if she's okay. Suddenly, Nancy speaks her first words in years and says she wants to see her daughter. Sam's eyes widened with joy. He asks in disbelief if she can really talk now. The monk steps forward and explains that her daughter is lucky because of her birth. Nancy has found her voice again. Grandmother, teary-eyed, vows to hold a special prayer of gratitude and tells Nancy to focus on recovery. She's already arranged rare healing ingredients from abroad. When Nancy insists she'll take care of the baby herself since Sam is always busy, grandmother waves her hand dismissively, saying there are enough servants at home to manage everything. Sam's friend laughs, teasing that he can't wait to see the great Fu changing diapers and warming milk bottles. A few days later, the family gathers at home. Grandmother gives Nancy an elegant necklace, but Nancy hesitates, saying it's too expensive for her to accept. Grandmother smiles and replies that no necklace could ever match the value of her daughter-in-law. Nancy is far more precious. Nancy blushes and admits she feels guilty taking gifts when Sam has been the one doing most of the child care. Grandmother beams proudly, saying Sam has already mastered everything from diaper changes to baby bottles and deserves a gift of his own. She then hands him 2 books, Rules for Loving Your Wife and How to Be a Good Dad. Sam's friend bursts into laughter, saying those books are perfectly chosen. Grandmother adds that being a perfect husband and father takes effort, and Sam has more to learn. Later that night, Nancy lies in bed, lost in thought. Just then, Sam enters and asks what she's thinking about. She hesitates, then blurts out that she's been wondering if he wants to share the bed with her, since it's her responsibility now as his wife. Sam raises an amused eyebrow and teases her, prompting her to groan and tell him to stop making fun of her. He grins and says that although it's been 3 months since the delivery, he's a man, not an animal. There's no rush. He'll take things slow. Then, climbing onto the bed, he tells her playfully that since his wife called him over, he can't let the opportunity pass. He promises he'll just hold her, nothing more. Nancy, heart racing, whispers that she's fine now. Before she can say anything else, Sam cuts her off, asking if she wants to continue her studies. She's surprised and asks how he knew. He smiles and says that as her husband, he knows everything and he's already arranged her admission. She'll be returning to school the next morning. At dawn, Sam wakes her gently. When she groggily asks why he's up so early, he replies that he always wakes at 5 for his workout and invites her to join. She waves him off, saying she'd rather sleep. He laughs and tells her to have breakfast quickly because he's driving her to school. Later, after her classes end, Sam calls to say he's coming to pick her up. At the gate, a few girls start gossiping. One says Nancy got pregnant during her studies and wonders why she's back at school now. Another claims she married a rich old man. Nancy, irritated, confronts them and tells them to stop spreading rumors without proof. One sneers that Nancy just wants to mingle with the wealthy and climb into high society. Another pulls out her phone and shows a video of Nancy's aunt's public meltdown outside the hospital, fueling the gossip further. The group jeers that Nancy abandoned her poor relatives for a rich husband. Nancy, her patience finally snapping, tells them to shut up. One of the girls smirks and says she's heard about a student who got pregnant before marriage. Was it her? Because if that had happened in their homes, their parents would have killed them. The group bursts into laughter, hurling insults, until Nancy, with surprising calmness, pulls out her phone, starts recording, and says she's done tolerating their lies. She informs them that spreading false rumors is harassment, and she's recording every word before calling the cops. In that instant, the timid girl they once mocked, who stands taller than all of them, was no longer their victim, but a woman reclaiming her own story. One of the girls suddenly lunges forward and yanks the necklace from Nancy's neck, her voice sharp with disbelief. She demands to know how Nancy could possibly own such an expensive diamond piece. The other girls lean in, murmuring like vultures circling a find. Nancy steps forward, calm but firm, and asks for her necklace back. Instead of returning it, the girl smirks and drops it beneath her heel, crushing it under her shoe. Just as the tension peaks, Sam strides in, tall, composed, and radiating authority. Every girl in the hallway freezes, as though the school corridor has transformed into a courtroom. Sam walks straight to Nancy, his tone soft but protective, asking if she's all right. Nancy answers quietly that she's fine, it's just that her grandmother's diamond necklace has broken. Before the girl can gloat again, Sam's assistant steps forward, grabs her by the arm, and delivers a sharp slap that echoes louder than the morning bell. He then reports to Sam that this girl's father is one of his business partners. Nancy, still composed despite the chaos, turns to the girl and tells her that respecting others is what makes a person decent, and now that she's broken her grandmother's necklace, she must pay compensation. The girl bursts into tears, stammering that she doesn't have that kind of money. Sam, his voice deceptively polite, tells her that in that case, he will cancel all business contracts with her father. The girl's tears dry up instantly as panic replaces arrogance. She pleads that her father will kill her if that happens, then flees in humiliation. Later, Nancy tells Sam that she's fine and that he arrived at the perfect moment. Sam, in his usual deadpan tone, remarks that his friend's girlfriend calls her boyfriend honey, and he feels oddly jealous. Nancy giggles and, to his amusement, calls him honey too. The two lean closer, their laughter softening into silence. But just as their lips are about to meet, their baby's cry slices through the moment like divine timing. Nancy sighs and says it's time to put their daughter to sleep. Sam chuckles, promises her to wait for him, and heads toward the nursery. Moments later, while he's gone, a call comes through on his phone. Nancy answers instinctively, only to hear a woman's voice saying, "Sam, I'm coming back." Confused, Nancy wonders who the caller could be. She walks to the dining hall and overhears a few maids gossiping, claiming that no rich man is ever truly loyal. Before her thoughts can spiral, Sam's friend appears out of nowhere and sharply tells the maids to shut up unless they want to be fired. Turning to Nancy, he laughs and says not to listen to them. Nancy, curious but still uneasy, asks him if rich men really are unfaithful, if loyalty is really that difficult. He grins and says, "I'm handsome, rich, and loyal to only one girlfriend. If I can manage it, others have no excuse." Later that night, Nancy sits distracted. Sam notices and asks why she seems lost. She admits she took a call on his phone, thinking it might be important. Sam excuses himself, saying he needs to make a call, leaving her alone with her doubts. She debates whether to ask about the mysterious woman, but fears the answer might hurt more than silence. The next day at school, she checks her phone. No message from Sam. Her heart sinks slightly. During class, a student announces that the school will be holding a graduation banquet in 3 days. Another student adds excitedly that Senior Lou, the brilliant girl who went abroad for research, has returned. The boys gush that she was the most gifted and elegant student in the school. Some even joined the school because of her. A girl chimes in, saying she's heard that Sam and Senior Lou were childhood sweethearts and that he organized the entire banquet for her. Hearing this, Nancy's heart twists. Could the woman on the call have been Lou? Her voice that night had sounded gentle, almost too perfect. Then, the same girl who had humiliated Nancy earlier stands up and loudly announces that Sam and Senior Lou have been in love since childhood, but Nancy came between them. She's the other woman. the rumor spreads through the room like wildfire. Another girl adds that Lu is not only beautiful, but also academically brilliant, implying that she'll soon reclaim what's hers. Later, Sam tells Nancy that his grandmother has prepared several outfits for the upcoming graduation banquet and that she should pick one. Nancy, surprised, asks how everyone at home already knows about her school's event. Sam admits he arranged the banquet himself. Her heart sinks again. Was it really for her or for Lu? When grandmother appears, beaming, she tells Nancy that all the dresses were chosen by Sam himself and insists she try them on. Each one is beautiful, and grandmother selects one that fits Nancy perfectly. As Sam steps away to take another call, Nancy can't help but think that the other woman must be someone special, special enough to occupy not just Sam's thoughts, but his grandmother's too. That night, lying alone in bed, she turns restlessly until Sam enters. He jokingly says it looks like he might kick him out of bed tonight. Nancy, still uncertain, tells him she wants to sleep alone and suggests he use the study room instead. Sam sits beside her, his voice gentle but serious, telling her he's noticed her mood lately and she doesn't need to keep things bottled up. He's her husband after all. Nancy wonders how to even begin the conversation if the mysterious woman really was his first love. Does she have any right to be angry? After all, their marriage began as an accident of fate. Sam breaks the silence, asking if she's referring to the woman who called the other day. He smiles and tells her she should actually call that woman Auntie. Nancy's eyes widened in disbelief. Auntie? Not his childhood sweetheart? She demands to know why he never told her earlier. Sam sighs, admitting it's his fault for keeping quiet, and apologizes sincerely. Nancy folds her arms and says pointedly that yes, it was entirely his fault. She confesses that when she got that call, she imagined 10,000 possibilities, fearing he might still love someone else. I was scared, she says softly, scared someone would take away whatever this is between us. Sam smiles, amused and touched. He tells her that even though she's angry and jealous, he's secretly happy, because now he knows she loves him too. Then, almost sheepishly, he admits there's one more secret he hasn't told her. He can hear her thoughts. Nancy stares, mortified, calling it the most embarrassing thing she's ever heard. Sam explains gently that her father must have sent her to him because he saw her pain and wanted someone who could truly understand her. Every word, even the unspoken ones. The next morning, Nancy gets ready for the graduation banquet. Sam walks in, zipping up her dress, and she looks at him suspiciously, asking if he doesn't have work to do. He grins and says he just missed her. Then, asking her to close her eyes, he places a necklace around her neck and whispers that it suits her perfectly. Nancy asks if he came all this way just to give her a necklace. Sam smiles and admits he wanted to see her because she looks stunning, but he also has meetings to attend. He tells her his assistant will escort her to the dinner party. At the event, as Nancy enters, a boy whispers that she's Mr. Sam's wife, the one he publicly acknowledged. A girl nearby scoffs that Nancy used her pregnancy to climb into a rich family. The boy cuts her off sharply, reminding her that last time someone disrespected Nancy, Sam made sure that girl regretted ever being born. And with that, the room falls quiet because when Sam protects someone, even whispers learn to hold their breath. The same girl who once fought with Nancy struts into the room, her tone dripping with smugness. She announces loudly that once Miss Lu returns, Nancy will lose every shred of relevance she has left. Turning to Nancy, she adds with a mocking smile that if Nancy wishes to apologize, now would be the perfect time. Nancy folds her arms calmly and asks why she should apologize at all. Just then, Sam enters with Lu beside him. Nancy glances at Lu and freezes. The woman is strikingly young and elegant, her poise effortless. Nancy's inner thoughts swirl. Wait, this is Sam's aunt? No wonder everyone thought she was his lover. That same jealous classmate rushes to greet Lu, plastering on a fake grin and introducing herself as her biggest fan. She gushes about having heard many rumors during her school days, including one claiming that Nancy, Sam's wife, deliberately wore the same necklace that Lu had just worn that evening. Lu listens, expression unreadable. Then, with the grace of a queen but the precision of a sniper, she throws her wine directly onto the girl's necklace. The entire crowd gasps as Lu says coldly that the necklace Nancy wears is one she herself gifted when Nancy became her niece-in-law. She adds that the two of them are very close. The gossiping girl stammers in shock, asking how that could possibly be true. Lou replies confidently that she is indeed Nancy's aunt, and that being young and beautiful shouldn't surprise anyone, since her nephew is equally extraordinary. Turning back to Nancy, Lou smiles warmly and tells her that Sam always speaks highly of her, and now that she's met her in person, she sees exactly why Nancy is every bit as beautiful and graceful as he described. Nancy blushes and replies politely that Lou herself is stunning. Lou laughs and asks why she's still calling her senior. She insists Nancy call her auntie instead, and tells her that if anyone ever dares speak ill of her again, she must come straight to her. Nancy nods and apologizes for misunderstanding her earlier. Lou waves it off lightly, blaming Sam's friend for not explaining things sooner. At that moment, Sam's mischievous friend grins and says with mock pride that, unlike Sam, he personally can't function unless he's surrounded by multiple women. The group bursts into laughter, breaking the tension completely. The next day, Lou takes Nancy to one of her malls. She tells her warmly to buy whatever she wants. She'll pay for it all. Nancy, shy but determined, insists on using Sam's card instead. They browse through clothes, Lou encouraging her to pick anything she likes. Suddenly, Nancy clutches her stomach and says she needs to visit the restroom. Time passes. Lou waits outside, frowning. Why is she taking so long? Meanwhile, inside, Nancy is ambushed by her old school enemy, who kidnaps her. At that same moment, Sam's assistant calls him to report that his wife has spent the entire card balance shopping. Sam sighs, unbothered, and says such trivial updates aren't necessary anymore. Then, his aunt's frantic call comes that Nancy has gone missing. Within minutes, Sam storms into the mall, commanding security to lock down every exit and check every person going in or out. The assistant returns soon after, saying the entire building has been searched and no suspicious person found. Lou suddenly recalls seeing a cleaner exiting the restroom earlier. Sam's eyes narrow. He orders them to find that woman immediately. Meanwhile, Nancy's captor sneers that Nancy ruined her life and vows to destroy her in return. She bribes a hired thug and instructs him to make a private video of Nancy. As the man approaches her, attempting to touch her, the scene cuts to Sam, who bursts into the hotel with his men. He kicks open the door only to find Nancy already beating the thugs senseless with surprising ferocity. Lou stares, wide-eyed, asking how a delicate girl like Nancy managed to overpower a grown man. Nancy, panting but calm, replies that she simply kicked him where it hurt most, and after that, he didn't move. Even Sam's assistant winces in sympathy before explaining that Nancy had been drugged, which made her lose control. He then shows Sam CCTV footage, revealing that the mastermind behind this assault was none other than the same girl who had bullied Nancy at school. Sam orders her immediate arrest. Later, still under the influence of the drug, Nancy clings to Sam, her emotions tangled and unsteady. The next morning, she wakes up, disoriented, sees Sam beside her, and instinctively starts hitting him. Only after a few seconds does she realize who it is and gasp out an apology, explaining she thought the thugs had come back. Sam, always the dramatic one, groans in exaggerated pain and says only one thing can heal him: a kiss. Nancy rolls her eyes and asks if he's joking, then timidly questions whether he was really the one who saved her. Sam smiles and shows her the footage of herself fighting off the attacker. She stares in disbelief, muttering that she can't believe she did that. He laughs, teasing that Madam always seemed like a fragile flower, but clearly turns wild behind closed doors. Nancy hides her face in embarrassment and asks if she truly became wild after being drugged. Sam smirks and says she was very wild indeed. She groans that it's mortifying, to which he replies with a grin that he actually enjoyed it, and then, just to add fuel, suggests they do it again. He reminds her that she still hasn't kissed him properly. Days later, the graduation ceremony arrives. Nancy stands in the hall, scanning the crowd, wondering why Sam hasn't shown up yet. After the ceremony, she steps outside, students handing her red roses and congratulating her. She walks into a quiet room and finds Sam waiting there. He gestures for her to stay silent and says softly that before meeting her, he believed his emotions were set in stone, that nothing could change him, but she took his hand and unknowingly rewrote his entire world. He tells her that God sent her to him and that she gave him a happiness he never thought he'd deserve. Nancy's eyes glisten as she takes his hand and replies with a playful smile that she's a possessive woman. Now that she's held his hand, she's never letting him go again. And with that, their story finds its happily ever after.